Tell me the moment when you realized that your workplace was toxic AF.
I've been waiting for this for so long. Story time. So I used to work retail for a place called Buckle, and yes, we're gonna go ahead and name drop because even if TikTok takes us down, I'm just gonna re-upload the shit. And for those of you who have never shopped at a Buckle, it is very cultish. Very cultish. They had this really weird hierarchy where, you know, whatever your position was, you were only allowed to hang out with that position outside of work because they didn't want this weird thing where, you know, teammates and managers were hanging out because that was a conflict of interest, right? So me being the only assistant manager, I was only allowed to hang out with myself after work. And the reason why I know that this rule came into fruition was because I got written up to corporate because I took a bunch of teammates out to Applebee's for some drinks because I was trying to do some fucking team bonding because it was right before Christmas. I got chewed out for 2 hours even though the manager was letting one of the teammates stay at his place so she didn't have to drive as far to get to work. And it gets worse. Check out part 2 in the comments. This is part 2. Just so you know. But yeah, on top of the bullshit hierarchy thing, they also had this obsession with sales, right? And the sales thing wasn't a big deal because I was probably the top salesperson like every other week. I was pretty good at selling some clothes, you know? Even the week that I was top sales, he would still bring me into his office and chew me out for not selling enough. Mind you, we worked at Golden Triangle Mall in Denton, Texas, which is a college town, so it wasn't just like people just had money to fucking blow everywhere. I also suggested doing some marketing. He said, no, this is Buckle. They know who we are. We don't need to market. Huh. Fucking dumbass. But there was a stretch for about 5 weeks where 4 out of the 5 weeks I was the top salesperson. I was killing it. And then I had one really bad week. My grandmother was just getting out of chemotherapy. I was having to cover my roommate's rent. Just a lot of stuff going on in my life. It just wasn't a good week for me. He brings me into his office to chew me out, and I was honest with him. I told him everything that was going on, told him I had financial issues. So he decides that the best course of action was to demote me not 1 step, but 2, and to decrease my pay. Yeah, I quit.
Okay, this one's for my millennials. Tell me the moment when you realized that your workplace was toxic AF. Mine was when I asked my senior to come eat lunch with me and he said he can't because he didn't want people to see him taking a lunch break. When you realized that your workplace was toxic.
So I'm not going to mention the company by name, but there were a few red flags. Like when the CEO got up in front of a bunch of us in the meeting and told us that even if a patient kicks, hits, spits, or cusses us out, that we should treat them with uncommon courtesy. Or was it the DON who used to stalk our social media? She called me about like 2 different posts that didn't mention the hospital at all. It was just about nurses having unsafe work conditions and intimidated me, told me that I needed to delete them. Was it the gag order the whole hospital had to sign? Oh, I think it was when the nurse manager had our charge nurses threaten to report us to the Board of Nursing for patient abandonment if we refused unsafe patient assignments or refused to work without PPE. No, I know what it was. It was when our nurse manager used to refuse to listen to our complaints about unsafe work conditions, and when I made an inevitable medication error, she tried to gaslight me, so I called her out in front of HR, and then she got pissed and tried to retaliate, so I wrote an 8-page grievance against her, which was conveniently reviewed by her best friend, who was the DON that used to Facebook stalk us. Again, I'm not mentioning any names, I'm just glad I got out of there.
Tell me the moment when you realized that your workplace was toxic AF.
A few years back, I worked at a furniture consignment store and it was a nightmare. One time, the owner of the store took away the chairs for the cashiers because she thought we were sitting too much and we had to crouch down on the floor in order to check out customers, and it was the most humiliating thing I think I ever experienced in my time in retail. There was also another time where she approved a schedule change for me and a coworker. When it was time for the shift change to happen, I showed up for my new shift hours and she got really mad at me and actually fired me, saying that she never approved the shift hours even though I had email proof that, she approved the shift hours. But then the next day she realized that she done did fucked up and she begged me to come back to work, and for some unknown reason to God, I did. And the last one I can fit into this time frame is a customer wrote a Google review about how they thought the owner of the business treated all the employees like crap. For some reason, the owner of the business thought I wrote the Google review, even though I didn't write the review, and she told me not to come to work for like 4 whole days, and I didn't eat or sleep for 4 whole days because she wouldn't return my phone calls, and she took me off of all of the social media, and I was a social media marketer, and I didn't know what was happening. And when she finally did let me come into work, my desk was cleaned out, and all my pins were deleted, and I just had to sob in the break room for 3 hours waiting to be fired.
Tell me the moment when you realized that your workplace was toxic AF.
This better not be the reason that I go viral. But at my one company that I used to work at, we bought a new building. And so we hired movers to move all our furniture from the one building to the other. And the movers wouldn't move our one boss's desk without bubble wrapping it from like top, bottom, middle. They used so many rolls of bubble wrap. And we were charged a lot of money to move that desk, because there was cum all underneath his desk. And we knew his door was always shut, and we knew to knock and wait at least 5 seconds for him to zip up. We all knew this. I should have left, and I waited way too long.
The moment when you realized that your workplace was toxic.
So I was a salesperson at a store that shall not be named. One day I received my paycheck and I looked at it and I realized I wasn't getting commission. I had been working there for several months, and my coworker, who was a guy, was getting paid commission, but he had been working there less than I had. Let's put that into perspective. So I talked to the other female coworkers and I said, hey, what's going on? They said, oh, our boss doesn't like paying women like the men. So one day on my off day, I went to my boss and I said, hey, I'm the only full-time female salesperson and I'm not getting paid the same as the men. That looks bad. He says, I don't see why I should pay you the same as the other guys. So I had to debate him on why I should get paid the same as the guys. He said, oh, well, this guy, he's worked here longer than you. I said, no, I've worked here longer. And he got paid more than me, and we have the same job. You can bet your ass I won that debate.
The moment when you realized that your workplace was toxic AF.
I no longer work at this company, but I walked in and the store manager's like, hey, no one's really cleaned the bathroom in a while. Could you clean it? And I was like, yeah, I don't mind. I don't care, whatever. And I cleaned it. I mean, I did a really good deep clean, like therapeutic deep clean. I don't know why, but I just did because I was trying to be all, I did it. I walked out of the bathroom and I asked my store manager and I was like, hey, like, can you check the bathroom and tell me how it looks? Like, just let me know. Do I need to do anything? She looked in there and I kid you not, she just, yeah, it looks great. And then she turns around and she goes to my assisting manager. She goes, see, I told you Mexicans are good at cleaning. Are you fucking kidding me? I got her back though. I called HR and got her ass fired.
Tell me the moment when you realized that your workplace was toxic AF.
So I was a waitress for like 5 years, and I kept wondering at this one specific place why I wasn't getting good shifts, good closing shifts. I was a really good waitress, handled my tables well, never did anything unprofessional, but it was a smaller restaurant and only like 5 people got good sections. Anyways, I found out later that our general manager was sleeping with one of the girls that I worked with. She was a terrible waitress, but she got all of the good sections because obviously they were sleeping together. To make it even worse, his pregnant wife would come in all the time and everyone in the staff had to pretend like we didn't know that he was sleeping with her.